always knew, but my parents never believed me. It was like I wanted to be a princess in some fairy tale land, and they're like, this is not possible.
Sydney Sweeney just picked up an 8,000 square foot oceanfront mansion in Florida, and she's kind of a real estate shark. She got a smoking deal on this place. The home features 6 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, a guest house, and a bunch of extras like a wine cellar, a home gym, and a game room. This does come at an interesting time though, because just 2 years ago, Sydney Sweeney told The Hollywood Reporter that she barely makes enough money to survive. Something has obviously changed though with her finances these last couple of years. Sydney bought her first house for $3 million in 2021. She bought one of her childhood homes back from the new owner in 2022. She picked up a fixer-upper in Bel Air in 2023 for $6.2 million. And now she buys this $13.5 million compound in Florida.
We were so excited.
I can see it now. It's happening. Sydney Sweeney, TV star, movie star, real estate tycoon. So if you're like me, you probably haven't been following along with Sydney Sweeney's career all that much, but she's kind of a recent success story in Hollywood. She was born in November 1997 in Spokane, Washington. That makes me feel old. She's only 26. From a super young age, Sweeney knew that she wanted to become an actress. She started auditioning for roles, and she actually moved out to LA at the age of 13. I'm not 100% clear on what happened from 2010 until 2016. She probably just finished high school, but in 2016 is when she started to guest star in some different shows like 90210 and Grey's Anatomy, and that carried on for a couple of years.
I auditioned for everything you could possibly imagine.
2019 though is when she had her kind of big break. This is when she played a character named Cassie in a show called Euphoria, which was a pretty great show, by the way. It ended up being HBO's second most watched TV show ever, just behind Game of Thrones. Then after Euphoria, she's since picked up a bunch of other roles in both movies and TV shows. Like, here's a list of everything that she's done up until now. Pretty impressive resume.
I feel like every day it's like a new day and a new challenge, and I'm just there to embrace it with a smile on my face, and I'm ready to go.
After some of this initial success in Hollywood, I guess that Sydney realized that she was going to spend a lot more time in LA, so this is when she picked up her first home out there. So she bought this one in November of 2021. She paid $3 million for it. It's 5 bedroom, 4 bathroom, 3,200 square foot house. Built in 1933, and it's sitting on about a 1/4 acre. Check out the price history though. So she must have really wanted this place because she paid $300,000 over the asking price. They were only asking $2.695. It's a Tudor style house. In general, I'm not a huge fan of houses built back in the 20s and 30s, but I've always loved Tudors. The inside matches the outside for sure. Got these wood floors. I wonder if those are original. The kitchen's a little underwhelming, mainly because I doubt any of this is original. I bet the floors, the cabinets, the backsplash, the appliances, all this stuff was probably updated in the last like 30 or 40 years. Nice shade of blue on the walls in this room. This is probably the master bedroom. It's up on the 2nd story. It's got its own fireplace and a little seating nook next to the window. Good sized master bath. I'm not talking about the location of any of her houses in today's episode, but let's just put it this way. This one is sitting in a very good location. Not a bad starter home. So 2021, she buys her first place in LA. Now we're in 2022, and you know where Sydney decides to spend her next big batch of money on real estate? That is buying back her great-grandparents' childhood home. The story on this one is that Sydney's great-grandma had this beautiful 2-bedroom house. Her grandma was born into it. Her mom was born into it. At one point, the family built another home on the property as well because the family was growing. But when Sydney's great-grandpa passed away, I guess her great-grandma wasn't able to afford the house anymore, so they were forced to sell. Well, in 2022, that's when Sydney called up the new owners and said, hey, I want to buy my great-grandma's house back. Imagine if you're the new owners and you get that call. We don't know much about this property other than that Sydney Sweeney was born in Spokane, Washington, and she was raised in northern Idaho. So we don't know the address or have any photos, but it's safe to say that her great-grandma's house is somewhere up in that region. So I'm gonna go off on a quick tangent here, you guys. I love that story, how she bought back her great-grandma's house, and it has me sitting here thinking about my grandma's house, which I kind of grew up in my grandma's house. It's a long story, but it was a similar situation. When my grandma passed away, my family was kind of in a situation where no one could afford the house or wanted the house, and so we basically were forced to sell it. So the family sold off my grandma's house. But check it out, this is it. So this means probably absolutely nothing to you guys, but this house is full of memories for me. It actually makes me kind of emotional just looking at it, to be honest. But now this has me thinking, just looking at what Sydney Sweeney did with her great grandma's house. Like, at some point in life, if I make it, like really, really make it, I want to buy back my grandma's house. Like, how cool would that be? Whether it's a place I go stay in when I'm visiting Pennsylvania, or even if it's just something I hold as a rental property, I don't know. I just think that would be super cool. Okay, moving along to 2023. At this rate, Sydney Sweeney has bought a house every year since her initial success, and this time was a really big upgrade. She spent $6.2 million on a fixer-upper in Bel Air. You're gonna see in a second, this is another historic feeling home, kind of like her first one. It's 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a little bigger, it's 4,500 square feet. It was built in 1937. Way more land though. Here she's got 1.25 acres. And we got another story where she pays more than they were asking. The house was listed for sale for $5.95 million. She bought it for $6.2, so she paid $250 over the asking price. The way that the description describes this one is kind of like a teardown, so I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if she tore this place down and built just like a compound here, but it's 1.25 acres of land. It's got a big swimming pool here. There's a main house. There's also a guest house from what I read. I don't think that the place was designated historic ever, but it's obviously pretty run down. You could spruce this up and live in it if you really wanted to. I don't know if she's into that kind of thing or if she wants to spend the money on it. To be honest, when you go and try to preserve a house like this, sometimes it's more complicated and more expensive than just scraping it and building from scratch. And yeah, this just shows you how big the lot is, and there's a new build right next door. So this neighborhood in particular, from what I read, is sprinkled with a bunch of mansions that are new and are priced around $20+ million. So she could definitely go the route of scraping this one and rebuilding it, and she'd probably be just fine as far as the numbers are concerned. I couldn't find any permit information online. It'll be really interesting to see if she goes the restoration route or the rebuild route with this one. Okay, now I mentioned this at the start of the video, but let's just go back to this really quick. So up until this point, Sydney Sweeney has spent, about $10 million on real estate. We haven't even got to the grand finale yet, but she spent about $10 million on real estate. But this article published in July of 2022 said that Euphoria star Sydney Sweeney says, "I barely earn enough money to survive." I guess she says that if she wanted to take a 6-month break, she's in a position, at least as of now, where she doesn't have the income to cover that. I don't know much about this, I'm not gonna lie, but apparently what she's saying is they don't pay actors like they used to, and when you're a streamer, you no longer get residuals. She says she is still getting paid, but she's gotta give 5% to her lawyer, 10% to her agent, 3% or something like that to her business manager. So she's giving away what is that, like 20% of her earnings? And she says if she just only acted, she would not have enough money to afford her life in LA. She takes deals because she has to. Here's kind of funny. So she said, "I couldn't even believe I was able to buy a house." I can't imagine being in that position. I think it's good for someone like Sydney Sweeney. Like, she should have a team of financial advisors and lawyers and people who are just like helping her manage her money and helping her to keep on track. Same thing goes for athletes or anyone who just comes into a lot of money like this. But I can't imagine that. Like, I'm paying all my own utilities, my mortgage. I like to be so in tune with my budgeting, but just handing it off to someone else just is such a weird concept. If we go to Google, it says that Sydney Sweeney actually only made $44,000 per episode on Euphoria. That's good pay, but definitely not enough to be spending all this money on real estate. I guess she only made around $25,000 per episode on White Lotus. That's also decent pay, but also not all that much. Here's the thing though, Google estimates that her total net worth is somewhere in the neighborhood of $40 million. If she's worth $40 million, then that's why she can afford all this real estate. And I'm thinking that her net worth has probably been like a hockey stick. Like, it probably climbed very slowly at first and then just skyrocketed up. And this is my suspicion. It's probably no secret. Like, she's got 20 million followers. Most of her net worth is not coming from acting on shows and movies. It's probably coming from all the brand deals that she's doing right here on her Instagram. Like, if she's promoting this makeup, who knows how much they paid her, probably $500,000 or something, I'd guess. Here's another makeup she's promoting. What else? She's promoting some other makeup here, so maybe makeup's her thing. She's promoting a drink over here. So you guys get the point. When you're an influencer like this and you have 20 million followers and your engagement is really strong, you're gonna make a fortune when you take on brand deals like this. That's probably where the bulk of her net worth is coming from at this point. Hopefully at some point she can get her career to a place where she's making more money from movies than she is from brand deals. Okay, now it's 2024 and she's kept up with her routine of buying a new house every year, but this time she has ventured over to the East Coast for her biggest buy yet. You saw it when you clicked on the video. Sydney Sweeney just paid $13,465,371 for this waterfront mansion in Florida, and this place is legit. Here we're looking at 6 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, 7,700 square feet of space. It's a 2015 build, and we got a lot of land here, 1.35 acres. You know I love looking at the price history though, and on this one, unlike the last 2, she actually got a discount on this deal. They were asking $18 million. She got it for 13.5, so what is that, like a $4.5 million discount? With a house like this, you gotta start the listing off with a sunset shot, right? The description says this is one of the most private lots in the area, and you can see that from this photo. She's got water on both sides of her, and then it looks like there's no other houses around except for this one a few hundred yards away. Look at that entrance. That is a Florida entrance right there. Huge swimming pool with the infinity edge over here, so you almost can't see where the pool ends and where the ocean begins. Here's what you see if you're leaving and walking out the front door, and this is your view looking the other direction, walking through the front door. Of course, you got some ocean views here from your living room, and I gotta just comment on this. This is one of the weirdest looking ceiling fan contraptions I've ever seen. Not sure what's going on here. We got some nice wood detail on the floor and a fish tank. Kind of an awkward kitchen. We've got 1, 2, 3 different colors of cabinetry, then a different couple of tones of wood on the ceiling. It's just like a weird mismatch of colors in here, but I don't know, maybe she likes it. Imagine sitting here and just drinking a cup of coffee every morning. How nice would that be? I'm gonna move a little faster. These photos go on forever. So we got a full-blown bar inside of the house off the kitchen, good sized dining room. The description says this is a 520 bottle wine room. On the other side of that fish tank, you got your office. Wild guess based on the size, this is probably the master bedroom. Good sized master bath too. Another weird mix of finishes though. Here is another bedroom. Here is a hallway with a sink in it. Some random bathroom. Looks like there's balconies off of almost every one of these bedrooms. Tons of outdoor space. I think this is leading you to the guest house. Let's see. Yep, that looks like a guest house to me. Outside, the pool has a swim-up bar, a hot tub. And it's funny, like every 10th photo or so is a sunset photo here. They're really trying to sell the sunsets of this house. Unfortunately, even though Sydney Sweeney just bought this place a couple weeks ago, there's already a bunch of paparazzis who are documenting her every move at her new property and posting it all over the internet when she's out for a swim or a paddleboard or hanging out with her dog or whatever. Hopefully after all this initial buzz wears off, people will back off, leave her alone, and just let her enjoy her new house. That's a wrap for today's episode. Let me know what you guys think about Sydney Sweeney's real estate buying spree down in the comments. I'll see you guys next week.